All right, welcome back. Let's jump right back into Julius Caesar. We're in Act 1, Scene 2, so we should be on page 15. Act 1 only has 2 scenes in it, so this is going to be the end of Act 1. Where Scene 1 was a rather short scene, Scene 2, on the other hand, is fairly long. Now this is in a public place, and we get some introduction into some of the most significant, really actually the most significant characters in this entire play. Okay, and we start to get introduced to the conspirators, in particular Cassius and Brutus, who are going to take down Caesar. So scene 2 is in a public place. Calpurnia. Peace, ho! Caesar speaks. Calpurnia. Here, my lord. Stand you directly in Antonio's way when he does run his course. Antonio! Caesar, my lord. Forget not in your speed, Antonio, to touch Calpurnia. For our elders say the barren touched in this holy chase shake off their sterile curse. I shall remember. When Caesar says, do this, it is performed. Set on and leave no ceremony out. Caesar! Ha! Who calls? Bid every noise be still. Peace yet again. Who is it in the press that calls on me? I hear a tongue, shriller than all the music, cry Caesar. Speak. Caesar is turned to hear. Beware the Ides of March. What man is that? A soothsayer bids you beware the Ides of March. Set him before me. Let me see his face. Fellow, come from the throng. Look upon Caesar. What sayest thou to me now? Speak once again. Beware the Ides of March. He is a dreamer. Let him pass. Exit all but Brutus and Cassius. Will you go see the order of the course? Not I. I pray you, do. I am not gamesome. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony. Let me not hinder, Cassius, your desires. I'll leave you. Brutus, I do observe you now of late. I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I was wont to have. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you. Cassius, be not deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself. Vexed I am of late with passions of some difference, conceptions only proper to myself, which give some soil perhaps to my behaviors. But let not therefore my good friends be grieved, among which number, Cassius, be you one. Nor construe any further my neglect. Then poor Brutus, with himself at war, forgets the shows of love to other men. Then, Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this breast of mine has buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? No, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself, but by reflection, by some other things. 'Tis just, and it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius, that you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me? Therefore, good Brutus, be prepared to hear, and since you know you cannot see yourself so well as by reflection, I, your glass, will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you yet know not of. And be not jealous on me, gentle Brutus, were I a common laugher, or did use to stale with ordinary oaths my love, To every new protester, if you know that I do fawn on men and hug them hard, and after scandal them, or if you know that I profess myself in banqueting to all the rout, then hold them dangerous. What means this shouting? I do fear the people choose Caesar for their king. Aye, do you fear it? Then must I think you would not have it so. I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? What is it that you would impart to me? If it ought be toward the general good, set honor in one eye and death in the other, and I will look on both indifferently. For let the gods so speed me as I love the name of honor more than I fear death. I know that virtue to be in you, Brutus, as well as I do know your outward favor. Well, honor is the subject of my story. I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life, but for my single self, I had lief not be as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. I was born free as Caesar, so were you. We both have fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold as well as he. For once upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, Darest thou, Cassius, now leap in with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point? Upon the word, accoutred as I was, I plunged in and bade him follow. So indeed he did. The torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with hearts of controversy. But ere we could arrive the point proposed, Caesar cried, Help me, Cassius, or I sink! And I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulder, the old Achaeans bear, so from the waves of Tiber did I, the tired Caesar. And this man is now become a god, and Cassius is a wretched creature, and must bend his body if Caesar carelessly but nod on him. He had a fever when he was in Spain, and when the fit was on him I did mark how he did shake. 'Tis true, this god did shake, his coward lips did from their colour fly. And that same eye, whose bend doth awe the world, did lose his lustre. I did hear him groan, aye, and that tongue of his, that bade the Romans mark him, and write his speeches in their books. Alas, it cried, Give me some drink, Tintinius, as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me, a man of such feeble temper should so get the start of the majestic world, and bear the palm alone. Another general shout. I do believe that these applauses are for some new honor that are heaped on Caesar. Why, man, he does bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. Men at some time are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Brutus and Caesar. What should in that Caesar? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? Write them together, yours is as fair a name. Sound them, it doth become the mouth as well. Weigh them, it is as heavy. Conjure with them, Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. Now in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed, that he is grown so great? Age, thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods, when went there by an age since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man. When could they say till now, that talked of Rome, that her wide walls encompassed but one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and room enough, when there is in it but one only man? Oh, you and I have heard our fathers say, there was a Brutus once, that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. That you do love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would work me to, I have some aim. How I have thought of this in these times, I shall recount hereafter for this present. I would not, so with love I might entreat you, be any further moved. What you have said I will consider, what you have to say I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us. I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus. Enter Caesar and his train. The games are done, and Caesar is returning. As they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will, after his sour fashion, tell you what has preceded worthy note today. I will do so. But look you, Cassius, the angry spot does glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol, being crossed in conference by some senators. Casca will tell us what the matter is. Antonio, Caesar? Let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Yond Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. Fear him not, Caesar. He's not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given. Would he were fatter, but I fear him not. Yet if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man I should avoid so soon as that spare Cassius. He reads much. He is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as you do, Antony. He hears no music. Seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself, and scorned his spirit that could be moved to smile at anything. Such men as he be never at heart's ease, whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore are they very dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear, for always I am Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkst of him. Exit Caesar and his train, but Casca. You pulled me by the cloak. Would you speak with me? Ay, Casca, tell us what has chanced today, that Caesar looks so sad. Why, you were with him, were you not? I should not then have asked Casca what had chanced. Why, there was a crown offered him, and being offered, he put it by with the back of his hand, thus, and then the people fell a-shouting. What was the second noise for? Why, for that too. They shouted thrice. What was the last cry for? Why, for that too. Was the crown offered him thrice? Ay, marry, it was, and he put it by thrice, each time gentler than other, and every putting by mine honest neighbours shouted. Who offered him the crown? Why, Antony. Tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca. I can as well be hanged as tell the manner of it. It was mere foolery. I did not mark it. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown. Yet 'twas not a crown. 'Twas one of those coronets. And as I told you, he put it by once. But for all that, to my thinking, he would fain have had it. Then he offered it to him again. Then he put it by again. But to my thinking, he was very loath to lay his fingers off it. And then he offered it the third time, and he put it by a third time. And still, as he refused it, the rabblement hooted and clapped their chopped hands, and threw up their sweaty nightcaps, and uttered such a deal of stinking breath, because Caesar refused the crown, that it had almost choked Caesar, for he swounded and fell down at it. And for mine own part, I durst not laugh for fear of opening my lips and receiving the bad air. But soft, I pray you. What, Caesar swooned? He fell down in the marketplace and foamed at mouth, and was speechless. 'Tis very likely he has the falling sickness. No, Caesar has it not, but you and I, and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness. I know not what you mean by that, but I am sure Caesar fell down. If the tag-rag people did not clap him and hiss him according as he pleased and displeased them, as they used to do the players in the theatre, I am no true man. But what said he when he came unto himself? Marry, before he fell down, when he perceived the common herd was glad he refused the crown, he plucked me ope his doublet, and offered them his throat to cut. And had been a man of any occupation, if I would not have taken him at his word, I might have gone to hell among the rogues. And so he fell. When he came to himself again, he said, if he had done or said anything amiss, he desired their worships to think it was in his infirmity. 3 or 4 wenches where I stood cried, Alas, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. But there's no heed to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done no less. And after that, he came thus sad away? Aye. Did Cicero say anything? Aye, he spoke Greek. To what effect? Nay, and I tell you that, I'll ne'er look you in the face again. But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads. But for mine own part, it was Greek to me. I could tell you more news too. Marillus and Flavius, for pulling scarves off Caesar's images, are put to silence. Fare you well. There was more foolery yet, if could remember it. Will you sup with me tonight, Casca? No, I am promised forth. Will you dine with me tomorrow? Aye, if I be alive, and your mind hold, and your dinner worth the eating. Good, I will expect you. Do so. Farewell, both. What a blunt fellow is this grown to be. He was quick mettle when he went to school. So is he now in execution of any bold or noble enterprise, however he puts on this tardy form. This rudeness is a sauce to his good wit, which gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite. And so it is. For this time I will leave you. Tomorrow, if you please to speak with me, I will come home to you, or, if you will, come home to me and I will wait for you. I will do so. Till then, think of the world. Well, Brutus, thou art noble. Yet I see thy honorable metal may be wrought. From that it is disposed. Therefore it is meet that noble minds keep ever with their likes. For who so firm that cannot be seduced? Caesar does bear me hard, but he loves Brutus. If I were Brutus now and he were Cassius, he should not humor me. I will this night in several hands in at his windows throw, as if they came from several citizens, writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambitions shall be glanced at. And after this, let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure. Okay, so let me call your attention to some notable lines. So if you want to grab your highlighter marker, let's go back to page 21. If we look at lines 221 to 254, this is where Casca is explaining to Brutus and Cassius what happened off in the distance when Brutus and Cassius could hear these roars coming up, and there were 3 roars that went up. And as the men are leaving, they grab Casca and they pull him aside and they say, Casca, what happened? What was all that shouting? And Casca tells them that Mark Antony had offered Caesar a crown. And we don't know exactly if it was a serious offering or playful, but every time Antony offered him a crown, the commoners, the great huge throng of commoners, gave up a great roar. Now don't forget that Caesar was greatly loved by the commoners. So every time that Antony would offer, and I should mention Mark Antony is a great close friend of Julius Caesar, when Antony would offer a crown, the crowd would just give off this great roar. And Casca, if you look at lines 240 to 254, he said every time that Caesar pushed it aside, in other words, Caesar was saying, no, no, I'm not a king, I don't want a crown, and every time he pushed the crown aside, he did it a little less forcefully. And so in Casca's opinion, he really would have rather taken the crown. Okay? So let's go ahead to line 312. Line 312. Okay? Brutus leaves and Cassius is by himself. Now remember that Cassius is trying to recruit Brutus. He knows that Brutus is an absolute key to this conspiracy, because if he gets Brutus, then the other men will fall in line. So he says, well, Brutus, you are noble, yet I see your honorable mettle may be wrought. So again, here's another pun. So mettle, M-E-T-T-L-E, is kind of your ability to deal with difficult times. And metal, obviously, is a metal. So M-E-T-A-L. So metal can be wrought, in other words, bent. It can be twisted. And what Cassius is saying is that, okay, Brutus, you're loved and respected by everyone, but I can twist you. I can bend you to do my will. Okay? And if we look at lines 318, let's look at line 318. I will this night in several hands in at his windows throw, as if they came from several citizens, writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition shall be glanced at. So what Cassius is going to do is he's going to write letters using different handwritings, and he's going to throw them in Brutus's window. And this is going to be another way that he's going to try to recruit Brutus, by mentioning Caesar's ambition. Okay? So ambition is something that they're not super fond of. So they think that Caesar is getting a little too big for himself. Alright, so as I said earlier, Act 1 only has 2 scenes, and so now we've certainly... I'm sorry, that's not true. That's not true. We've got scene 3. I'm sorry. So we've got one more scene coming up, and I'll post that video coming up here. And so there we are. So we'll be back with you later. Thank you.